Hello everyone, this is Caillou, and welcome back to Moxtober videos for 2023. Moxtober, I guess I have to say was, because we're now in November, uh, a custom magic event where for each day in the month of October, there was a one-word prompt based on which people made designs inspired by whatever that word made them think of. Um, Today we're going to be doing the word for the eighth day, which was school. So I'm going to be reviewing some of the designs that people made. There'll be a link to all the designs we talk about here today in the description, as well as a list of all the prompts. And you can join the server, the Beacon of Creation server, that is, to participate in future custom magic events, such as, or just general design events. For the month of November, there's Naga Demon, which is National Game Design Something Month. Um, I think it might just be National Game Design Month. Actually, thinking about it, um, which is sort of a more generalized game design like environment. So if you're interested in that, check out the server. Otherwise, continuing with our Moxtober video, um, as always, I'm joined by a guest from the custom magic community, and today we have a new guest. So introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Garduu. I've been kicking around the custom magic community for a couple of years now, and I love Moxtober. Moxtober's awesome. I'm always excited to see what people come up with, and also excited to throw my own designs out there. So, uh, being a guest here is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you might know Garduu from the said Depths of Pyloa, as well as just the general custom magic. If you've been in the custom magic servers, they're reasonably active there, and I think they do some good work. So yeah. Um,
Thank you.
as always, our guests take the lead on deciding what cards we're going to talk about. This saves me from liability and legal issues, so thank you very much for taking the bullet. Um, what
Absolutely.
what cards do you have for us today, or what? I guess what's your first card you have for us today?
Yeah, I was hoping to take a look at Tome Lake Koi.
Okay.
It is a blue creature card for 3 mana, 2 and a blue, and it has Swarm, discard a card. When this creature attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, create a token copy of it that's tapped and attacking. And whenever Tome Lake Koi deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Mhm. And this is designed by Mark Confidant. Yeah,
Cool
this
card,
is
Mark.
yeah. I think this is interesting. Okay, so swarm costs can be variable. Um, Here the idea is it essentially functions as like a looter, right? Like, though I think the issue is,
Yeah, it is like a lot of value. You're discarding a card and getting a tapped and attacking token, so it's effectively hasty.
right,
And
and
there's
that's a
also
permanent
card
token.
selection there.
I just
Yeah,
realized
it
that's
doesn't go away,
oh, that's really powerful actually. Huh. Like that like
especially at uncommon. I
yeah.
would draft this thing every single time. If I want stuff in my graveyard, if I want to like run an aggressive line of play, if I just need to dig through my deck, this does all of those things, and it's a cool fish.
Yeah, and because it creates a token copy, this isn't a case where oh you lose the original, darn, you can't make any more copies because it just keeps going. It just keeps going. Um,
Yeah, there's built-in protection because once you make one token copy, like it doesn't get any more efficient because you still have to discard a card for every token copy you create, but it gets a lot harder to get rid of the koi without like a board wipe or something because even if you kill the original, the token is just as good at making new fish.
mhm. And like obviously it has no
I
evasion, so like if they just have blockers, you do get stymied. It feels a little feast or famine for my liking, but I think I like the idea of swarm in general. I don't know. It
Yeah,
is
it kind of has the same vibe as like what's that Island Walk Squid. Every time you draw a card, you put a counter on it. And then when it dies, you make a bunch of squid tokens.
I know which one you're talking about.
Chasm.
It looks like a giant gray serpent in the art, and that's all I remember.
Yeah, Chasm Skulker, I believe.
Chasm Skulker, that's it.
It yeah, this gives me those kind of vibes where either it's gonna run away with the game and give you a lot of card advantage and lots of bodies, or it's not really gonna do much anything.
Hmm. It's also missing a creature type, which unfortunately we have to send Mark to the Shadow Realm for, so we'll never be seeing him again.
Oh, disappointing.
Mm. But
But
I guess
like exciting card for real.
yeah, and I think that it's showing immediately like one of the alternate interpretations of school, which is rather than the place you go to learn, it's the plural form of fish. So I think we're going to
Yeah,
be
it's
seeing a
definitely
lot of those
fun
two
to.
jockeying against each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the clever takes on the prompt that kind of subvert what you expect, but also you expect the subversion, so it's nice to see.
Yeah. Okay, so what's our next
All
card?
right, let's hop on over to aggressive professor.
Yeah, and so this is a two
Our
and a red
second.
for a creature orc advisor. Has mentor on a 3/2. Whenever it mentors a creature, you get to impulse draw. And this is designed by Feline. So, yeah, why'd you choose this one?
I really like the lines of play this is implying, where you have some early aggressive stuff that's generally pretty small, and then this is your turn three play. Turn four is generally when you're gonna want some more gas in like a really aggressive deck. So this is attacking, it's putting pressure on your opponent, it's making your early stuff stronger, and it's giving you some more gas in the form of that impulse draw. So I think it's this nice little aggro package in a card, while also being a pretty neat way to fulfill the prompt. Mentor definitely has that like teaching school sort of thing going for it. So this is a really nice red way to meet this prompt while also being a card that I could see being really functional within its environment.
Yeah, this feels like the definition of a clean uncommon to me in the sense that um, if this was a common, it wouldn't have the impulse draw text because that's repeated card advantage. If this was a rare, it would have either +1/+1 in stats or maybe an evasive keyword or something to push it for constructed. This feels like at the perfect spot where it's a decently statted on curve creature that points you towards an archetype and also necessitates being uncommon because it can generate repeated advantage. It feels like just like a really solid limited card.
Yeah, and with the way Mentor works, there's sort of a ceiling that's really naturally imposed where you don't have to bother with some text to sort of stop it from snowballing. It does that on its own, which I love. It's really cleanly put together.
Yeah, or you just have a bunch of cheap creatures in your deck, and you just keep hitting them, and this snowballs like crazy and rewards you for good deck building slash drafting. In which case, we stand.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it would be fun to play with. It would be fun to draft. I would definitely run it in limited. It seems like it might have a place in a constructed like standard power level environment if the environment had the right other cards to support it.
Mhm.
I think it would be just fun to play with.
Yeah, if the Lord let this have haste, then it would definitely be instant standard playable.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, and I also love the flavor text. Listen to my lessons, and even you may be able to fell a beast like this. Just it sells the little over the top goofy thing of this gigantic like barbarian professor. Um, I don't know if you've
Yep.
watched Dimension 20 or any of the live role play stuff that they do, but it reminds me of they have like a magic school there or like a adventuring school there, And I love just like the camp that you can get from just the idea of the a society built around adventuring and traditional fantasy stuff where it's like, huh, it's kind of ridiculous
Mhm.
that we like train people to like fight and adventure and explore and all like just like playing a little bit campy with those tropes is something I love, and this feels squarely in that wheelhouse.
Yeah, like, oh, I gotta get up early tomorrow for monster hunting class. Kind of fun.
Darn, I failed Monster Hunting 202. Guess I'll have to retake it. How did you fail? I didn't hunt the monster. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Yeah, what's our next
Maybe a
card?
new direction for a Strixhaven sequel. Next card. I would like to talk about Blacksmith's Student.
Sure. Describe it to us.
Okay, Blacksmith's Student. I'm never really sure who's taken the turn reading the card, so I was just having like an awkward pause to wait to feel it out, but I think we got there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Blacksmith Student is a creature. It's 2 mana, white and a white, human artificer. Once each turn, when an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, create a weapon token, which is an equipment token with equipped creature gets +1/+1 and an equip cost of 2. It's a 2/3 right off the bat, so a little bit above curve, a little bigger than a bear, but you do have that double white cost to kind of justify that. It's pushing you towards like an equipment based deck, clearly. Um, and it would be really nice to have in multiples to get lots of weapon tokens. So there's definitely some snowball potential there. But I really like the flavor text. The flavor text is really what sold me on this card. It says, "All I remember of my first sword was being proud of it, no matter how crude it was," and that's from Dolma the King's Right.
Yeah, and I
And
like the sort
I
of
don't know. I think
mechanics' flavor of like the student sees like a giant battle axe and is like, "Whoa, that's cool!" And like they go back to forging their dinky little sword, but like, they're learning, they're inspired, they're trying.
yeah, it's both like simple and useful mechanically while also telling a complete story. Um, and it does it pretty elegantly. There's not really a wasted word on this card. Everything there needs to be there, and that is nice.
Yeah, and I guess I'm trying to think though what kind of deck would want this. I think you'd want something that like this almost feels like the type of thing where less than maybe an equipments deck, it's an artifacts dot deck in disguise, or like an eggs, maybe not egg style deck, but something where like you're you're trying to create a critical mass of artifacts that you can either like sack or like you get card advantage out of in some way, or you like
Yeah, some sort of like metalcraft or affinity or
yeah, I was really thinking of pure steel paladin, but I was like there's crazier stuff you can do with pure steel.
yeah, but it feels like that kind of environment would be friendly to it, and I imagine it would be a card popular in like equipment centric commander decks. Uh, outside of 60 card constructed, I think it would have a few nice spots to slot in as well.
Yeah, and I mean even 60 card constructed, dude, above curve body 2 drop. Sometimes it's all you need to push a synergy engine into okay, yeah, this is playable.
Yeah, and like the environment can also have an impact on it too. Like maybe the two white pips matter. Maybe there's devotion or chroma. Something to make that impactful in some way as well. So
Yeah, very
it has
knobbly.
like enough hints to make me curious about what it could do.
Mm-hmm. And this one came from Envoy of Aeons. Okay,
Big fan, Envoy.
hit us with the
All
next
right,
card.
next, Forbidden Technique.
Okay, and this is black, black, red for sorcery. Demonstrate, which is one of them commander keywords. Whenever you cast a spell, you may copy it. If you do, choose an opponent to also copy it. Draw 3 cards. It deals 3 damage to you and 1 damage to each creature you control. Um, right. So assuming this is again meant for commander. Um, no, I think this is still kind of nuts. Um, because you can use it as like a pseudo wipe to kill a tokens deck, right? And like you do 6 damage to yourself, but like okay, I'm drawing 6 cards. Oh no! Like especially if you're a more controlling deck or a deck that's playing larger, like the 2 damage each creature you control can be mitigated fairly easily. And like man, this is like I guess like in Commander, maybe 3 mana to draw 3 cards is not the craziest, but 3 mana to draw 6 cards still feels insane. Like I don't know this
Well,
and this is
maybe
and this is like obviously trivially busted in non multiplayer formats. I feel like
maybe I'm miss. Where's the six coming from? Because like, doesn't if your opponent copies it, don't they get three?
they get 3, but then you copy it and an opponent also copies it, so you're getting 6 cards total.
Oh, yeah, you may copy. Yeah, you're getting six total. They're getting three. Okay, so that is a bit excessive. I
Hmm.
agree. Um, I overlooked the six card part. I will admit, and I really liked the idea of this flexible piece of draw slash burn slash removal, where you could draw three, and then if you needed to, you could also like bolt an opponent or do some scouring sands kind of stuff. I'm less into it now that it draws you six. Now that I realize that, but the idea is really cool. The concept of the card is really cool. The balance is just a bit off, and that's pretty easily tweaked.
Yeah, is it? Because even if this goes to 1, I think it might be unplayable. If it goes to 2, I still think it might be kind of obscene. Like, because the draw four, like drawing 4 for 3 is pretty good, and then again, you have like such control over because you have control over where it's pointed. You can kind of just like point it at the person who is going to actually be hurt by the 1 damage to each creature they control. Yeah, I don't
Hmm.
know. This card feels
Yeah, I think.
like a reverse browbeat in a sense, where it's like you usually like okay, those cards are worse than they look because they're punishers, and I feel like this card is better than it looks because you can like point and click someone.
Yeah, I think like keeping demonstrate on there is gonna make it really hard to balance. But if you axed demonstrate and just wrote out the rules text to allow an opponent to copy it, so you could point and click them for three, but then they draw three without giving you six cards. I think that would be a really cool, fun, arguably balanced addition to like a commander precon or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And you could
Cool
also
tool. It's really flexible.
and maybe speaking of commander, we bring back like assist or something, and it's like you can have like a big splashy draw spell, and the idea is like anyone who joins in gets to copy it. Um,
Yeah, yeah, stuff like that in Commander is just fun. I like those cards that play on the fact that you're in a multiplayer environment.
yeah, and this one comes to us from Dragon of the West.
All right, thank you, Dragon of the West. Next card, a meteorological capsule. So this is a 5 mana artifact. It is three generic mana and then a blue and a red. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, add blue or red. This mana can't be spent to cast a permanent spell. And then it has 5 tap and sacrifice meteorological capsule. The next instant or sorcery spell you cast has storm. That you cast this turn has storm. Activate only as a sorcery.
This is
Oh, and it is rare.
I don't know how to evaluate the balance on this because it's so format dependent. Like, if you have a bunch
Yeah.
of cantrips, this is just busted. If you're playing like regular Magic, who knows, it might still be busted. But this is insanely cool. Like, I love it. There's
Yeah,
like
storm in a bottle.
literally, yeah, and it's like the it both enables you to keep casting spells so you can get up to a large storm count, or you can just save the mana and use it to cast like activate meteorological capsule itself. So which I think the it can't be used to cast a permanent spell is pretty heads up for that reason. Because it
Uh-huh.
lets you both spend it on your instants and sorceries and use it on activated abilities like this one.
Yeah, and I love that like subtle utility that the first time I read this card, it was like, okay, so you can only use the mana to cast more instants and sorceries. And then I gave it a second read and it was like, wait, no. There are other things you can do with it. So it's as long as you have instants or sorceries, it really feeds itself in a pretty cool way.
Yeah, it's just very clean and fun build around. Like, and
Yeah,
again,
and it gives you the dream of giving some ridiculous spell storm.
yeah. Though honestly, I think that you probably just like again like even if you have like 2 mana rather than 1 mana cantrips, let me chain a bunch of cantrips into copy lightning bolt, which I think is the perfect, you know, flavor and actual win. Just hit them for 3 a bunch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even something as simple as lightning bolt with storm is one like the flavor's fantastic, but it's fun. Like the idea of it is fun. Like I cast lightning bolt and then I copy it 6 times and now I have 3 damage to direct at 6 different targets. It it's silly. It's fun and uh definitely powerful in the right environment.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. And this one's designed by Zile85.
Yeah, that one was very cool. All right, moving on to Sage Eye Monastery.
Yeah, and so this is our first land. It's add white. It enters battlefield tapped unless there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard. So spell because so it has the spell mastery ability word. Um, and 2 white create a 1/1 white monk creature token with prowess. Okay, this is yeah. Okay, I see. I'm picking up what you're putting down. It's like it's very how very Jeskai of you. And I like that this is in white, which is a color that isn't typically associated with Spellslinger. So there's a little bit more oomph slash weight behind this in terms of like the deck building like your ability to deck build towards this and also what it's implying about the environment it would be in.
Yeah, that's what made it stand out to me is the fact that it really showcases what this environment's white archetypes and limited might be doing with not a lot of words. Like on one card, we get a pretty good idea of what a hypothetical limited would look like for decks that want this card. And I thought that that was cool that the creator could imply that much with just this land.
Yeah, and like it just again I like that it has a legitimate cost to enter tapped or to enter untapped. Um, and the token being only sorcery speed balances it against like because like like I think the obvious comparison that comes to mind here is like Castle Ardenvale, um, which was
Hmm.
another four tap make a token. But Castle Ardenvale, I would argue, had a much easier ETB ability and also could be activated at instant speed, which is huge for control decks. So I think that really lets this live favorably when you make that comparison, where the prowess is big, but it's not like uh, it's not like unwarranted given the drawbacks that this has.
Yeah, and the sorcery speed also like clearly pushes this more towards like a tempo deck, something with a more aggressive game plan and out of that Castle Ardenvale constructed area. So again, like doing a good job of sort of implying where the card where its home is.
Yeah, it's just clean. And this was designed
Yeah.
by Lead Wizard.
And I'm also like the biggest Jeskai stan ever, so I was pretty excited to see it. Reference to the Seijai, uh, monks with prowess. Like, what's not to like?
Mm-hmm.
All right, next we have Selix Inquisitive Professor.
Okay.
So Selix is a legendary creature, human wizard, 4 mana, one, and then blue, red, white. So again, we're dabbling in Jeskai colors here. Has mentor. Whenever a wizard or advisor enters the battlefield under your control, learn. And whenever you discard a card, Selix Inquisitive Professor gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
I
So we have the mentor ability to put +1/+1 counters on creatures with lesser power when this attacks. And then we have learn, which has an option for you to discard cards. And then whenever you do discard a card, this dude gets +1/+1. So the abilities are kind of feeding each other there, where you can play more wizards, discard cards, make this guy bigger, and then attack and put counters on the wizards you have played.
Yeah, and wizards are typically not known for their beefy bodies. You know, they work out at the library, so this guy is really gonna help. Like you're gonna get a lot of procs off this. I think my biggest thing is it feels like there are a lot of hoops for just sort of like 1/+1/+1 counter per turn, especially on like this big Jeskai guy. Um, but also you're getting the repeated learn, so that there's like there's spice, there's stuff going on. I it
Yeah, like in an environment with lessons, he's repeatedly tutoring stuff, which is crazy. And even if you don't have lessons, he's looting for you,
yeah,
which isn't nothing.
yeah. I don't know. I guess I just wish that like because there's such a neat package with the mentor, right? But I do also kind of wish that there was sort of somehow more emphasis on that interaction. Like I almost wish maybe this didn't have mentor and it did like mega mentor where it did it for each attacking creature that had lesser power or something. So then you really feel the
Oh
like
yeah.
the oomph there.
Yeah,
Because,
I
because
think I think that would be a cool change.
Mhm. Because again, I really like the interaction between the discard and the mentor, where like the power boost meaningfully matters on this card that otherwise doesn't have combat statistics. But again, it's like it's almost like marginal. So yeah, like I like giving it a bit more like it's like slam dunk power. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, highlighting the neatness of that interaction by making it more mechanically relevant would serve the card well. Because that's the neatest aspect of this design, I would say, is that interaction between mentor and the discard ability. So yeah, definitely making that more of a focus, more of a draw of the card,
Hmm.
would
And
would do
less
good
of
things.
a discard of the card. But that was a learned joke. Um, yeah, this was designed by Darkoso. Let me check the exact numbers. Darkoso 82.
All right. Well, thank you very much for Celix. And next, we're taking a ride on the Magic School Bus. It is
Oh
a
yeah.
legendary artifact vehicle. Hopefully, you are familiar with the Magic School Bus. 4 mana, two, a white and a blue. Uh, it is a 6/6 vehicle with flying. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And then you can pay 5, 3 white and blue to untap all creatures that crewed the Magic School Bus this turn. They gain flying until end of turn and activate only once each turn and only as a sorcery. With a crew cost of 3.
So I'm usually bad at evaluating vehicles. I do think this probably needs a slightly higher crew cost. Um, but otherwise, I think this is a lot of fun. It really does give that feeling of like you get on the Magic School Bus and all of a sudden you're in outer space. Put on this spacesuit. We're walking on the moon and we're gonna grab some moon rocks to answer some random question that Arnold asked or whatever. You know what I mean? It's a it
Dude,
could,
as a teacher, I wish my students would be willing to go to the moon. Like I'm the amount of effort that Miss Frizzle could get her kids to put out is crazy. I bet her evaluations, minus the obvious child endangerment stuff, I bet her evaluations were pretty positive. She
mhm.
had to be highly effective.
Yeah, I think they're like, and I think it really is the microcosm of like the student teacher relationship. Where like I think I love what I liked about that series. Like the kids were not like perfect kids, but they each had things they were curious about and that they wanted to know about. And then Miss Frizzle was like, "Let's feed that," and it's like obviously in real life it isn't as easy to like pique someone's curiosity about a topic, especially like given that like there's a curriculum to teach and you can't just be like, oh, you're
Uh,
interested in moon rocks, we're going to spend all of today learning about moon rocks. But yeah.
yeah, it would be cool if I was like, "Hey, I'm interested in moon rocks." Then my teacher was like, "Cool, let's go to the moon."
Yeah, and okay, back to the design, because if I keep talking about Magic School Bus I'm going to get caught in a complete other tangent, because I love that, I love that book slash show. um but yeah, mechanically I love
One of
that.
my favorites.
I like that this is sort of it does kind of what I like about like vehicles, in that it's still functional even if you don't crew it. Like it gives you like this reconnaissance mission effect, um, and then but further rewards you for crewing it. Like there's like a good level of like impetus to do the thing without like punishing you or giving you a dead card if you can't do the thing.
Yeah, like the base case is still good. It's 4 mana for the reconnaissance mission or the coastal piracy. So it's, an effect that's on par for its cost, and it's a worthwhile effect. But then the upside is a 6/6 flyer, which is a pretty good upside to have.
Yeah, maybe a little too good. Again, I'm a little sus about this being a three crew, but I think
Yeah,
that
crew 3 or maybe 5/5, I think both would be, well, not both, but either would be justifiable.
mhm. Yeah, maybe both,
But
because again, it gives you it's draw. I think the fact that it's a like big flyer that also like enables you to draw a card is pretty not pretty big, but yeah.
yeah, and that activated ability is also like
Yeah,
exciting, but
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
I
This this
like
this
the
is
way
this is another reason I wanted to have a higher crew cost, because I think that it'll add to like the flavor's mechanics if you have to like invest like your whole classroom to get on. You have to, instead of just like, Oh yeah, Miss Frizzle got on the Magic School Bus and she was like solo driving. Like if you have a larger crew cost, it's like okay, whole gang has to get in here, and then we get like the big payoff for it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I do like the story that that would tell. But mechanically, I really like the way the untap ability works with the reconnaissance mission because normally, uh, a crew cost would sort of neutralize the ability to attack with those creatures and thus draw cards, and you'd have some like anti synergy there. But this activated ability, like totally gets rid of that concern by not just like mitigating it, but rewarding you for crewing the magic school bus and then having mana afterwards to do the thing. So I think it encourages use of the ability, like you said, in a really fun way while still having a reasonable base case.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And this is by Hyzak slash Koanon.
He's a cool guy. All right, last card we have uh the Spires of High Einen. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
I like how you waited as though I would know how to pronounce it. Like no, we're
Well,
in uncharted
I was
territory
hoping.
here.
I was hoping you might hop in with like a, well, actually, it's, or like, good job, you totally nailed it.
Actually, it's the Spirays of High Anon.
Spirays, spirit. I always, that's one that I always mess up. Spirays. Well, anyway, the Spirays of High Einen are a legendary land with the subtype School, and it has kind of like a companion style ability. It says enroll. Your starting deck has no more than 5 non-land permanent cards. And then the reminder text is once per game, if this is your enrolled school, you may discard a land card to put this card on top of your library from outside the game. And then its ability is you pay 2, you tap it, you add X mana in any combination of black and or red, where X is the amount of damage dealt to target opponent this turn.
I do like companion alikes.
So,
I like their impact on like limiteds. I don't know. I am
mhm.
still yeah, like go ahead cuz I'm still trying to like wrap my head around like the multiple implications of this card.
Yeah, companion is a mechanic in like a whole avenue of mechanics that I have mixed feelings about. Where I do really like the impact it can have on limited. That's exciting, in my opinion. But for constructed, I think you really run the risk of making a lot of games more samey when you have that capability to tutor an important card to your deck or to whatever engine you're trying to craft or whatever your strategy happens to be. Like having access to it all the time uh, is kind of hard to account for, I think. But this does that a little bit better, in my opinion, just because it, as a land, is less impactful than like a legendary creature.
Mm-hmm.
And its ability is impactful, but at the end of the day, it's just a mana ability. So how good it is going to be format dependent, like what sort of mana sinks you have or what you're able to do with that mana, and how much damage you're able to do prior to activation to make the card worthwhile in the first place. So I think those are some balancing factors to the companion alike ability that make it, I don't know, less worrisome
Mm. It's
to
also
me.
unlike companion, it's card disadvantage because you discard a card to put it on top of your library. So I think that's a big because like lots of what made companion good was that like even in the worst of times, it's like, whoa, here's my free card advantage coming right
Yeah.
up. Forget the fact that like who cares if this is tempo negative because I get a free card in formats where I can like where that's like game winning. Um,
Yeah. and it was really easy to leverage that free card in pretty like game shifting ways. Like which speaks to the errata that it got pretty quickly.
Mhm. And again, I usually don't like
But
legendary on a land, but it very much makes sense here. You want to encourage people to run the one copy outside the game rather than running a few in your deck and then getting this for like quote unquote free. Um, my one big thing is like I agree
yeah,
with.
and
Okay, I was gonna say like my one big thing is like I think that companion likes are like at their best in limited, and in limited you want to like push people. I think like their ideal is like sort of like the archon or like the super archon where it's like you really want to push someone into a strategy and like you get to artificially say play x amount of this strategy and also give them a guaranteed payoff for doing it. And so I think it really like pincers in uh like limiteds in like a very like in a way that I think can be really refreshing and like powerful. um even if like the power level of the limited is low, it makes the power level, it raises the power level and like consistency of the environment in a fun way. um this obviously still has like a specific direction in terms of like it's telling you to do a lot of damage and rewarding you by giving you a lot of mana. But I wonder how much design space there is for lands that can actually effectively do what companions encourage best is where I land. Yeah.
yeah, I'm wondering like in its hypothetical environment, I'm imagining a cycle of five. The subtype kind of speaks to that. The ally dual color kind of speaks to that. So maybe five of them in ally color pairs, uh, each a different school in whatever world this card would take place in. But I do, hmm, I do like the way that it does allow for like from the perspective of somebody not playing the card but designing the environment. I like the way that it lets you as a mechanic uh have some way more specific like limited lanes and raise the skill ceiling on deck building so that you can really reward players for taking the deck building risk and trying to make this work or uh making being a competent deck builder more of an impactful thing in a limited game than the standard.
Yeah, I generally agree. I think it ultimately comes down to how much more do these being lands affect that dynamic versus like other companion alikes. Like I'm just basically trying to think like I almost like everything about these other than the fact that they're lands, but also like or like I'm saying like there's multiple. Like this one is good. I'm again, it's just a question of like how much design space will there be.
Yeah, yeah, like could this person make four more good ones?
See, I could see four, but my thing is like I think for the companions, I think you need at least like a full cycle of 10 for it to feel like there's like variety and there's like stuff going on here, or at least like maybe if you're a faction set, you have one for each faction. I could see that, like you were saying, like a like Strixhaven alike. But I also think that like I almost feel like it's the type of thing where like if you're doing it, like go hard on it. Like I think I think the environment is made better when like there's a potential for almost like it's almost like I think of it almost like a commander draft where the idea is like everyone has the opportunity to opt into one if they play their cards right, or in this case, not really play their cards if they play their draft right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I guess but this is just back to my philosophy where it's like I think that like yeah, ultimately my philosophy is on like companion environments is like go big or go home sort of deal.
Yeah, like it's a bold move to include in your set. So like if you're gonna do it, maybe lean into it hard. I can agree with that.
But yeah, I think that might be the well of discussion on this. This was designed by Red Bay. Um, and now it's my turn to throw out some cards. Yeah, you weren't expecting that, were you? Um,
I had no idea.
so I'm just going to quickly throw out some cards that I enjoyed from this group. So starting off with Alone at Recess, which is in my category of simple and clean. It's one in a blue for an instant, draw two cards, and discard a card unless you control exactly one creature. Um, very much feels like a God. What is that card? Chart a course. Yeah, it's like chart a course, except you trade instant for you trade going up to instant speed for having a much more restrictive condition. Um, it puts you in an interesting spot where like this is probably something you play in like a low threat tempo deck, which is looking to like land its Delver turn one and then just play spells for the rest of the game. Um, but again, it's pretty easy to disrupt. But I think I really think that like this feels like either a common for like it is like it has a rarity of common, but this feels like a
Mhm.
pretty neat common that'll enable some tempo decks. Or in the right cube, it's like a menace, where it's like an instant speed draw two, where you play your tempo threat turn one and then you never look back. And I kind of like that it has that evaluation dynamic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, where it has in very specific circumstances a much higher ceiling than it otherwise would have.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's
I
like
like
and like the instant speed like matters I think a lot for where you would potentially play it as relative to chart a course. But again, it also has like sort of I think relatively similar decks that it would want to go into. I don't know. It's just neat.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the return of the loner mechanic, like Innistrad style, that rewards you for having exactly one creature. I don't think it ever like worked that well, like homicidal seclusion, but it is always something that I thought could be fun to have in a limited environment and have properly supported. And I think that this is the kind of card that starts to bridge that gap. Like I could see this as part of like a limited package built around having one creature, whether you're doing like exalted stuff or tempo stuff or
Yeah,
other
I
sort of
think
Voltron strengths.
if you're building that environment, I think the biggest thing is that you need to give your creatures other things they can do. Like they need to have evoke, they need to have like cycling, like you basically like because the danger is right like your players are sitting like oh man I don't want to play my cards, and that's always the worst thing.
Yeah,
So you need to give them like some modality where they can like transmute their creatures into something else, not literally transmute because that is not a good mechanic, but you know what I mean.
yeah. It would be hard to do well, but it would be really cool to see done well.
And this one was designed by Gynoid Poet or Marina from the MSC server. Next up,
And I think this one does it well.
yeah. Next up, we have Get Schooled. And I think that this is essentially the creature version of an offer you can't refuse, um, where you have a 1 mana counter target creature spell, wowee, but then they get two 1/1 blue fish creature tokens with this creature can't be blocked. So oh no, all of a sudden they have a clock on you. So it's the question of like, is the efficiency of this interaction worth the refund cost you're paying? And I mean, I think this is like I don't think it's crazy to say an offer you can't refuse has a much higher downside in terms of the treasures allowing them to immediately cast another spell. And an offer you can't refuse is still a really good card. Like it's like a
Hmm.
a, a queue playable card. So I think that this is I think this is very playable, and I think it's also very balanced, right? Because you still, de- depending on like what the creature is, like I think that in like in higher powered formats, it might be that like, oh, you're still giving them a clock that's hard to interact with. Darn bummer. Um, I think in like lower powered formats, like abilities do matter a lot more, and you're also likely to trade up in terms of like uh, used to counter a 4 or 5 drop, and it's like, oh wow, that's really powerful. Um,
Yeah, it feels like the counterspell version of like a Pongify or a rapid hybridization.
so basically, Pongify, but we're finally in Pi.
Yeah, like we're Pongifying on the stack. And I have always had a soft spot for those effects anyway, so I'm glad you picked this one. I think it's a really fun card. I like the art, I like the name, I like the play on school there with the fish. It and it does feel like it would be really satisfying in the way that rapid hybridization or Pongify are. It would be really satisfying to counter some like Craterhoof Behemoth or something else ridiculous, and then like, but hey, you get two fish.
Yeah, it's like, what is the? Sorry, sorry I kept you home from school. Here's some fish.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think
preparation
this is
style.
just like this might be my favorite card of the day, just like hands down. It's got like you said, like aesthetically it's great, amazing flavor, great art, and mechanically it's fun. I think it's relatively balanced while still being powerful and attractive, and I love riffs on existing cards that manage to carve their own niche. So yeah, it kind of hits all of my buttons.
Yeah, yeah, it's just fun. It's just a fun little card.
And this one is designed by Smellhole. Um, Next up, we're going to look at graduate studies. So this is banned for an instant. It's got the ghost away. So you exile any number of target creatures you control. You return them to the at the beginning of the return them at the beginning of their owners and blah blah blah. Return those cards to battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of their next end step with an additional +1/+1 counter on them. So it's like Journey to Nowhere and like Ghost Away had a child, um, and I think it's just clean. It feels like it just feels like a really fun and attractive design for like I assume since it's uncommon this would be like a faction set where one of them is flicker or like
Mhm.
maybe it's like green white is counters, blue white is flicker, and this is sort of like and there's something going on in the middle where this like helps both. Yeah, it's just it's really this is the type of card where like I look at it and I'm like, oh, this doesn't already exist, huh?
Yeah, and it kind of like as you discuss its possibilities, it makes me want to see more from whatever environment this would be in. It is like a really clean effect. It's useful, dodge removal, slow blink your stuff for some like enter the battlefield advantage. Just hey, if you need the counters, get the counters. It does a lot.
Yeah, and the flavor is delightful. I love like the tiny mice, and I heard next year we'll be learning about even bigger bells. Like just the the idea of like we have this we go to school for this one thing. We go to school to learn about how to make bells. That is our lot in life. I don't know. There's just something really funny about that. It's very cute.
Yeah, and I like the art style, and I like cards that venture outside of the usual Magic sort of like fantasy art style. And this is fun. The art and the flavor package is a lot of fun.
Hmm. And this one's designed by Arshig. And finally, let's go to uh, Unending Lecture. So this is a 4 mana blue enchantment. at the beginning of your upkeep, learn. Whenever you would learn, you may instead discard a card. When you do, target lesson in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. Its flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. God is just so clean mechanically, and like the flavor as mechanics. Like, oh, it's like it still does the learn thing of getting you card advantage, and but it gives you like an alternate way to like again, it like you can like get one cool, really cool lesson, and then just run it back. Um, and again, I love that it gives you value over time, but it has it's slow and meaningfully costed in terms of being 4 mana. Um, and yeah, it's just and I like that there's incentive to also just play face up in the sense of like instead of just getting a random lesson or just like looting every turn, there's incentive to like be like, yeah, I'm gonna grab like I think that this works less well in an environment with like lessons up and down the rarity chain, which I think was also one of my biggest gripes with Strixhaven, where like you like there's when there's lessons like what is it the 7 mana one mascot exhibition when there's like this is the lesson I grab every game I think is less interesting. But assuming that we're in an environment that like learned from Strixhaven sins and has like a more balanced like suite of lessons, I think that this is really cool.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's another card that does a really good job of having an interesting and useful base case while also having enough of an upside to make you want to reach it. So I don't feel bad playing it without the upside, but then if I get to the upside, I'm really excited.
Yeah, yeah. And this is also like you could potentially run this in a deck where you run some lessons main deck. So even if like even if you there isn't something that you want to tutor up, you can immediately flashback something that you played earlier in the game. Like yeah, I don't know. It's just clean.
Yeah, and the you're still getting card advantage from whether regardless of whether you choose to learn or to flashback, you're still discarding a card to get access to another card. So it's almost modal in a really weird but really clean way, and I like how it's managed that again with not a lot of unnecessary excess text.
Yeah. And this one was designed by Jalaba. And I think with that, um, gonna wrap up today's video. So thanks everyone for watching. Um, if you're interested in further Moxtober videos, let me know. I know we're now into November, but I'm fine with slowly running through the backlog. I'm no promises for finishing the whole 31, but as long as there's still interest, I'm down to still do some more of these. So again, if there's still interest, like uh, I feel weird saying let me know in the comments because I feel like that feels like such a big shot YouTuber thing to do, but it's not gonna like again, I don't have analytics. This is literally just me straight up asking if you want more, tell me and I will make more. Um,
Such a classic YouTuber move.
I'm melting. Um, but yeah, and in the description, speaking of classic YouTuber moves, in the description you can find the prompt list, a link to a Dropbox with all of the MSC files for Moxtober, um, and also a link to the Beacon of Creation server if you want to participate in their future custom Magic events. Um, and I think the last thing to do is obviously to thank our guest. Thank you so much for coming on, Garduu. Been wanting to get you on for a while, and so I'm glad we finally managed to get the schedules lining up and get you on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, until next time, this is going to be Caillou signing off.